everyone, welcome to another video. There was a prompt list, not a prompt list, but there was a list that I put up in the Facebook group asking for suggestions for collage sheet elements, and someone said Whimsy Warriors, and my brain got a ticking because I know they were such a huge hit when I created them for you guys, and then went again and recreated them using the Jane stuff, so they were really popular. And so I thought, why not do a Halloweenish twist, I should say, to the Whimsy Warrior and do some Whimsy Witches. Now, in your collage sheets this month, you are going to get some witches' feet. I've just made them really small so I can fit them all on, but I will be doing a few different sizes. I will also be making a border, so there's a whole heap of colored variations. There's also black and white, but I don't know where my black and white one is right now, but there is a black and white version as well. So I've got those ready to go with this project in mind. And then I also drew some witches hats, or I drew one and then made it various sizes so that you could do a witch as well if you chose to. I decided to change it up a little bit because instead of doing the paper piece the dresses like I did for the Whimsy Warriors, I wanted to do something a little bit more textural. Now, I don't know how this will scan because I'm going to be scanning my versions for you for collage sheets, which you will see when they're done, I guess. But I bought this spooky netting from the Halloween section in Spotlight, and it's meant to just be like spooky spiderwebby kind of stuff. So I've hacked up at that, and I thought about making the dress or the clothing part of the Whimsy Witch out of this and using some craft glue to adhere it. But like I said, I'm not sure how it's going to scan, but I'm hoping that it'll work. And I just think that it could, obviously you guys use these for your bookmarks and things like that, but this version would be more so as like a gift tag on a gift or something that you would send to a pen pal, because it would be, if you're going to do the same sort of thing as me, this would be very I mean, it's still will flatten down, so it may very well work in your journal. I'd be more inclined to put this in an art journal or somewhere that has the space or the room, because this sort of stuff, once bunched up, is quite thick. Obviously, you couldn't use this version specifically as something you'd put in your pocket of your journal, because this isn't conducive to it, but you could definitely do just a paper dress like the ones that I did, and I may do two versions of it so you can see both. And like with the other ones, I don't even have any on hand because I don't know where mine are. I just did the petal dresses and then tipped them with gold embossing powder and stuff like that. Definitely could do something like that for sure, but I'm going to be doing a couple of watercolor faces in the green tones, the way that I start some of my faces, and I want to do one like that with collage elements. So I have a few eyes and things sort of meandering around on my desk. I don't know if they're going to work or not. We shall see. I'm obviously just going to go through the motions of testing. Is there any more eyes in here? No, these are all. Testing what works, or I will do some sort of like a Nook Dweller face, but I think I will make two, I think, because I think they are quite fun to make. They're quite easy to make, and it'd be interesting to see the two different types that you could make. And so I thought with the witch's hat, the orange probably goes the best, but you could definitely do anything. But I think the in color coding ways, these look the cutest, and I think my watercolor faces I'm going to do on watercolor paper so that I get the greens to spread really well. I've never done a green watercolor face before. I normally do like the purpley blues. Do I have any here to... I'm talking about this sort of style of face for the one of the witches, to see how that would work with the Stabilo pencil, which I think I have here. So I have my Stabilo pencil, and I've got a couple of palettes here, and I'm pretty sure there's more greens. There's a green here, but I'll have to get my other palettes out to get more greeny tones, because I think this is the wrong type of green. So Oh, I've got 2 in here, so we might see how we go. I might do a couple on there just to test out greens. Add a couple of moon glow tinges to it, a little bit of purple, make them look very witchified. But I thought that this would be a fun project. If you never got on board with the Whimsy Warriors last time, this is definitely something you could play with. You can make really cool bookmarks with it. I mean, if you don't do this part of it with all the weirdness, you could definitely do the skirt. You could make bookmarks for presents. I know a lot of people created a whole heap of warriors to give out as gifts. I'm pretty sure I had a teacher create some. I know Sian's done some for birthday invitations. She did some Christmas versions. They are so versatile and so different. So I thought I'd just bring back some nostalgia, bring back the whimsy, and do a little project with you guys for this video today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some water, because I've just realized that my paint jar, my water jar, is not on my desk. It is actually in the dining room. And move all this out of the way and start doing a few green faces, and then get started with making these Whimsy Witches. Alright, let's get started. Let's get our watercolors out. I always start by creating a wet circle, and that means that when you drop in your watercolors, they're going to spread and react really nicely. They just have room to move, so we're sort of like dropping it into a wet surface. And then I always like to go from light and then add my darker colors in. Some of these work out okay, some of them don't. That is the beauty of this sort of way of doing it. It is very unexpected, and you get some fantastic results and you get some not so fantastic results. But the trick is to do multiple faces, and then you can choose your favorite one and go with that one. Because I've never done this in green before, it was very trial and error for me trying to get the right combination of greens. And because I was working with palettes that I didn't know very well, like I didn't know which greens were which shades, I was kind of just winging it. And like I said, some of them worked out really well and some of them don't. I do use a bit of moon glow in there to try and get the eye sockets to darken up a bit, because I couldn't find the right green, and that one looks almost like a pig monster. But this is the whole process. It is just the same as what we did before, and I've done this style of face many times, but never in green, and I thought this would be a fun way to start off the Whimsy Witches. There is a happy medium between having too much water and not enough water, and you've got to find that. If you have too much water, your darker colors will just spread out heaps, and you won't get any of those little shadow spots where you want them, so in the eye sockets and the nose and all that sort of stuff. But if you have too little water, it won't spread enough. So it is trial and error. I promise you'll get it once you do it enough times. I am using my Stabilo pencil, which is what I love to do when using this, and then I activate it with my water and darken up all that, and sort of add the dark spots and use it to help shade the elements of the face. And obviously she's got a very crooked witchy nose, very stereotypical, I know, but I wanted to make them very cartoony, very illustrated, and some of them I love and some of them I don't love. But that is kind of the reason why I say do multiple faces, because you can always pick and choose and trial different looks and different eyes and different sort of facial features on each one, because each one will tell a different story, because they all look completely unique.
I can stay till the morning. till the dawn, but just hold me now. I wanna be so much better whenever you're around. I wanna say something clever to get in your mind, 'cause right now we're not together and I lose my way then. Oh, I feel so much better.
I'm using some gesso to add in the whites, and that is purely because I don't use white watercolor or white gouache or anything like that, and gesso seems to be really good. It works really well, and you can obviously add water to it to lighten it and make it more translucent, and use a lot more of it to make it more opaque. So it's a really good all-rounder. I use it quite a lot, especially when using my Caran d'Ache crayons, which is what I was going to use for this video, but completely forgot to get them out. So out of sight, out of mind, and I just stuck with the watercolors for this video. And this part is probably what takes me the longest. It's getting my shadows in there and using a really tiny brush to add more darks, add more lights, sort of fade them into each other. And it is a long process, and this is only sped up 2 times fast, but it does take you a while to sort of get to the point where you're happy, well, me anyway, and I'm trying to work out what sort of hair I want, and knowing that there's going to be a hat on there as well. Some of them are, like I said, triumphs, and some of them aren't, and I actually pull one apart completely and redo her because she is not cute at all.
I wanna say something clever to get in your mind, 'cause right now we're not together and I lose my way then. Oh, I feel so much better whenever you're around, whenever you're around. Yeah, yeah, whenever you're around, whenever you're around, whenever you're around, yeah, whenever you're around.
So I've cut her face out and I've added it to a tag, and I've added the little witchy hat as well, which you will also get in your collage sheet. So all those elements that you're seeing will be in your collage sheet, so you can make your own little Whimsy Witch come collage sheet day. And obviously the ones that I create will also end up being in your collage sheet, so never fear, you will get them all. And I'm using a black paint Posca pen to add in the hair, and I generally like to attach the face on its own and then add the hair. As you saw, I was putting buns on her in the previous shot, and it doesn't work because you don't know how it's going to sit on the tag. You don't know if it's going to those buns are actually just too big for the tag, so I advise putting just the face down first and then your hat, and then working your hair around that so you can get a bit of an idea about what can go where. It depends on what size your tag is as well. I'm actually using quite large ones, but there are small ones out there if you want to do little mini ones, and you can sort of fit your witch to your tag. And with my other Whimsy Warriors, I had attacked them a little bit differently. I actually drew the faces straight onto the tags, so this was a different type of the way of doing it, and I'm not sure if I like it as much as the other way, because you could still tell that it was a tag with the other Whimsy Warriors, but I still think they turned out very, very cute.
We were young, and no one dared to make the first move. You and me in the night, 2 souls in the moonlight. I stare into your eyes, and you into mine, lying perfectly still, like we have frozen time. I don't want this to be over. Don't want the morning to come. My head upon your shoulder, wishing that you would say, I think you should stay. I think you should stay. I want you to say,
I get a little bit flustered with this face and move on to working onto other faces just because I have multiple faces going on. So that's also a good thing to do when you feel like you're getting stuck, is to work on other elements to your project, or if you've got multiple things of the same, like multiple faces for the same project, you can move on to that. And that's just because I wasn't loving what was happening with that other tag, so I didn't want it to stagnate my creativity. So all I did was put it to the side and start working on another face. And once I'd, calmed down a little bit and was not ready to throw it in the bin, I'd go back to it. And that's kind of one of my go-tos, especially when I'm not feeling super creative or when something's giving me issues, is I make sure I have either a side project or a notebook next to me or something else that I can work on, to keep myself being creative, but to not let the frustration of something not working put me in a complete halt and then I stop creating altogether. So kind of keep the momentum of creativity somehow.
Call me out, tiger. Call me out, why don't you laugh? Lift me up higher above the clouds, won't you love? When the scenery is right, go right in. I wanna fall deep within. Don't leave me hanging just 'cause I'm too proud. Whisper away my outdated doubts. Somebody do me the courtesy, dress me down. I'm not that old yet, I'm far too young to not stand my ground.
This one's a little bit more cutesy and a lot less ugly witch, and she is totally adorable, and so I decided to keep her and not put her on a tag, and you'll get her face as well in your collage sheets. And I added a little stitched lip, almost like a mummy or a zombie. I can't remember, it's like
Frankenstein bride or something like that. But she's really, really cute. So I made several of the blob faces, but I only created 3, but I quite like all 3 of them, and they're all super different looking, even though I did the same technique. And that is the beauty of doing it this way, is that you have so many ways to go, so many avenues to explore when you create several things of the same thing. You can always have completely different expectations, completely different results from what you're creating. So I've got 3 faces that look completely different, all painted at the same time with the same colors in the same way, but they all look so different, and I really love that. So I decided to cut up some strips of black paper from I think a photocopy that I was using, and I didn't start with the material just yet because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to implement that. So I thought I'd dip my toes in by making a skirt out of some old strips of black paper, and I really like how she turned out. And it's really, you could do so many things. You can use tissue paper, you could use the dip technique like we did with the first Whimsy Warriors, where I embossed all the edges with gold. And I did consider doing that because I do have like a lime green embossing powder, but I didn't think it would show up as well on the black. But this is just adding a whole heap of strips of black paper. It is so easy, guys. You can do so many different things, and that's always most of the projects I show you. There is so many different avenues and pathways you can take, and they will all look unique to you. I don't ever try and show you something that's straightforward and very cookie cutter where they all look the same. They'll all have the same vibe as mine, but they'll all look very different, and that's always something that I strive for when I teach you things, so that you can feel like it's a little bit more you than it is me.
There's more than I can bear. You're always telling me the truth. That's why I lean on you. Just like you know that I always do. Oh, listen now, I'll never make it, so help me pull through. Whenever I've bitten off more than I can chew, that's when I lean on you. You bring me home when I'm distracted. You put me where I need to be. An opportunity on which I never would have acted.
Not loving how this one is working, and I think it's because her nose position was in the wrong place, and it just wasn't working. So I'm kind of trying to improvise. I obviously like this girl's face so much more because it's less witchy, I guess, and witches in the media are meant to be nice and ugly and green faces and all that sort of thing. So I'm just going to cover up her eye. I think that gives her a bit more quirkiness as well. And I think I'll bring that purple in her shirt, because I was wondering what color I was going to use for her shirt. So I'm going to put, this is one of the eyes off my monster, as you can see there. I tried a couple of human eyes on her, but it just didn't work. It didn't have the same sort of feel. So I thought do that. And this is just the black part of a photocopy. So when I've photocopied a journal spread on my journal, all the black outline, this is literally what her skirt's made out of at the moment. And the reason why she's got one purple, one orange is because the second orange one has gone MIA. So I just decided to give her two different colored shoes, which is fine. No problems, no problems. I am going to go get my purple paint marker just to add that in. I am going to scan this girl's face before I even attempt to touch her. This one reminds me of the witch from The Witches, the Roald Dahl movie. Again, very similar with the long pointy nose. I thought I'd do a couple of oddball ones and then this kind. Maybe she needs a different eye. We can give them like, because her eyes are front facing, whereas this one was pointing to the side. So when I was going to try and do that, it looks stupid because her eyes were looking off into the distance. This one may work. I do really enjoy adding different colored eyes and human eyes as opposed to normal eyes to things. They just give it a whole nother look. I don't know whether I like it with the other eye or not. But I definitely think she's very stern looking, which is okay. I had a bit of issue with the hair and stuff because I want to put the hats on them, and so this one will either go like, I think I like it to the side because you can still sort of see, and I've picked a hat that's like a little bit too small for this one. This one, it'll work on top. It won't work on here because her hair's too big. But I really like the idea of the slightly tilted hat. It kind of works for me. But at the same time, she doesn't look very much witchy. She reminds me of like almost zombie-like. If I was to put like little stitches here, I think that would sort of emphasize that sort of look, and I think that kind of suits her much more than the whole witch vibe. So you could definitely do all types of sort of Halloween-esque things. I am going to try the fabric. I think I was getting a bit too ambitious with it. Or you could obviously give her a top or have it laid over the skirt, but I kind of am really digging the paper skirt that I've got going here. But I'll go get my purple marker and add a bit more purple and then move on. And I'll do a bit off camera just to sort of cut down the process because I know this video is getting quite long.
It's the same old story being told inside my head. I'm too shy to straighten up my bones and be a man. I gotta tear this wall apart to let you in. My friends say the time's running out, so take the chance. Make a move, 'cause the store won't stay open till the end. Won't you tear my world apart? 'Cause I know I need a start to let you in. When it's over, I will see what I've done. Letting go too soon. Oh, I'd be stronger if you just step right in. 'Cause I need a start to let you in.
I'm just going back into my watercolor palettes and just adding some shading around the face because it seemed a little bit dull and needed a bit more depth. And you can do this with colored pencil, watercolor, even at one stage I used a paint marker and used my paintbrush to push that around and soften that up. And it's all just layering and getting it to the point where you're happy. And I'm very finicky when it comes to this stuff. Even though my stuff is very, very simple, I still like it to have some depth to it, especially where there's meant to be things that are shaded. And so I use a whole heap of different supplies at my leisure. So pencils and watercolor are probably the two that I use the most, but I've used markers before. I've used Caran d'Ache, the crayons, the neo colors. There are so many ways that you can add your shadowing and your depth with the supplies that you already have on hand. Colored pencils is probably the most easy accessible one, and I also really love watercolor and colored pencils. And you can see here that I'm just taking my Stabilo pencil and using the tip of my wet brush because I don't want to draw straight onto the picture, but I do want some of that translucent shadowing color, and so that was the best way to get it, is to sort of grab a bit of that pigment off the tip of the pencil and just activate it with water, and I have an instant shadowing effect tool without too much fuss.
You tell me you're scared. You tell me you're weak. But I know you're stronger than what you think. And I know it's hard. It's rough, but we'll make it through, and I'll back you up.
I didn't like where her lips and face were going, so I've just used my Posca paint pen and covered it up. And I'm always reminding you that nothing is set in stone with your art. You can always find a way to save it, and a opaque medium can pretty much erase things quite easily. So I grabbed my green paint marker and completely erased some of her facial features so that I could go back in and work on them a bit more. I mean, it did flatten out some of the work that I was doing, but I didn't mind because I just was not loving the mouth.
Still be here. We'll fix these mistakes.
Alright, we've done a bit of damage control off camera. As you can see, been removed. Let's get rid of that. Gave her a bit of a facelift. Let's get rid of that. And took off her head. And basically, I cut out a bigger hat. I'm just going to cut out that little bit there. And we have fixed her face to the point of this. I've then gone ahead and grabbed a piece of magazine clipping and grabbed the black sections out of there. And I've cut two sort of, I don't know, oddly shaped hair pieces. And I've put them here together. Then I cut a kind of like fringe looking bit there. And then we're going to put the big ass hat on her because I think that just looks way better than what we were working with. The only problem I'm worried about is that I have a feeling she's going to be too big for my tag because I'm obviously using a bigger hat than I originally was going to. The little hat just doesn't look as cute, I don't think. I think the big hat really works with the big hair. I will try and get her onto a tag, or essentially I could put these elements together, scan it and size her head down so that it fits properly onto a tag, because once you add the legs, because the legs are quite long, I mean we could give her really short stocky feet to sort of compensate for the fact that the hat is so big, because I also need to be able to get this into the scanner because if I make it too big it's not going to fit. But I do really like the look of the larger hat, and I'm glad that I persevered and sort of fixed up. Her whole look was just not working for me. I haven't penciled in her lips yet because I'm having so much trouble today getting my lips happening, working to the point where I'm happy. But what I may do is I'm going to sort of assemble her and throw her in the scanner, just with this girl as well, so that I know that I've got these ready to go for you guys. And I'll obviously pop this one in the scanner as well because she's done and dusted and she's ready to go. I'm pretty sure she fits in the scanner. But look, for a size comparison, look, her hat and her head is like half the size of a whole tag. So I definitely think that I'm just going to size her down and then reprint her onto some photo cardstock, and then that way I can finish making my tag with her on it, because I think she just looks really, really cute now that she doesn't look so, I don't know, I will continually try and change things if I'm not happy, and the only one that I was really content with was this one, and that's purely because she doesn't look like a witch. So that kind of defeats the whole purpose. But I wanted to sort of give you a little insight into, I always talk to you about this. I'm always telling you, if you don't like something, there is ways to change it, because you can literally cut it off the tag. You can use your paint pens. You can whitewash it all with gesso. I started trying to fix it with gesso by changing her head shape dimensions, and then it just looked really odd. So I was like, nah, not even going to bother. And I will literally start collaging when I get to that point, because I think, okay, there's got to be something that I can do here, that I can fix, and I can change. Maybe we'll see. Anyway, I need to sort of glue her together, assemble her and cut her, and then get her hat and everything and scan it and print it, and then finally make my second tag. I feel like this is it's literally taken me all day to do this because I was so unhappy with my faces, but I wanted to make sure that what I made could be used for collage sheets, because I just think that I can kill two birds with one stone, and I know that you guys love this sort of stuff, and I think giving you a couple of heads on their own means that you can essentially do the same thing, because you're going to get the hats, you're going to get the feet, you can make your own little whimsies, make your own faces, or you can assemble your own using mine, although you won't get her face singular, but I guess you could just cut it out, I guess, maybe. But this way you get these two faces and they're ready to go for you to play with.
I grabbed my glue and it was dried, so I opened up the lid and thought that I would just tip a little bit of glue down on there. Yeah, just wait for it. Oh my god, I had a moment of like complete craziness, and so I just tipped off camera, after swearing quite a lot, tipped my tag onto my palette and took a lot of that excess glue off. I left some on there because we're going to need it for adhering the fabric to the tag, and I've just pulled apart the layers and then used my brush to sort of push it into that glue and mold it very, very loosely. I didn't want to move it too much because I just wanted it to stick and stay, and it was very, very simple. I was thinking it wasn't going to work, but I actually really love how this one turned out. It was probably my favorite of the two, but yeah, I had to avoid glue apocalypse for a second there. I'm not really doing much to position anything. I'm just sort of pushing that glue and the fabric in together and making sure that I keep the like the tendrils, I should say, away from the feet, so you can still see the feet quite clearly. So, but I still want it to look like a little bit of a skirt. So there's a little bit of artistry to it, but really not really.
It's over now, so don't despair.
I gave her an orange top, which is very unlike me because I hate the color orange, but after I did it, I was like, I'm going to turn this into a pumpkin.
If all the blue skies way too gray, we're gonna be okay. The world could fall down, it's gonna be okay.
This is a black hard brush tip pen that I got from the stationery selection box, and it's really nice. It's a brush tip, but it's all one tip. It's not individual fibers, and it's got it's a hard-ish nib. It's got a little bit of a bend to it, but I really like it, and it's a really nice black, and you can also get a really nice fine line. So I just cut out some little bit of collage paper from black section of a magazine and created a pumpkin just like that. I think she is so cute, and she looks like she's ready to go trick-or-treating on her own.
Putting our life in boxes, erasing the memories so you won't notice. I'm taking the time to focus. You're by yourself, I'm by myself. Wish I could solve your problems. They're stuck on my wall like neon paintings, and I'm so tired of being honest to everyone by myself. I do it so well. We were so good at flying, but we can't keep flying. We keep getting stuck on the wrong side of the mountain. We were so good at trying, but we can't keep trying.
Right, I think that is I, blah blah blah. It's been a long day creating. Considering this one was my least favorite face, I think she's turned out the absolute best. I think the whole texture of the skirt with the pumpkin top and fixing her eyes, I just because her eyes were like this, and I've obviously added in digital eyes instead. I will give you this version as well in the collage sheets because I obviously scanned it like this and edited it like this. But I really like her with the black and white edited eyes and added some fancy lips. And then putting the skirt and the two turned feet. I think she is so cute, and I'm glad that I persevered with her because she was ready for the bin. But I wanted to make sure that I showed you things can always be changed. I'm always trying to teach you that it's never over with art. You can always fix things, you can always change things, and this just goes to show that that is definitely something that you can do. And you'll get her little face as well. I'm only making 2 today because I have so many things to do before I leave. I thought it was all over Red Rover when my glue went freaking everywhere. I was like, oh my god. There was a lot of colorful language. I will not lie to you. A lot of colorful language when that tipped out. I thought it was going to be like a lot more thicker, not so textured. But I was wrong. It was not textured at all. It was very soup-like, And so when it tipped out so super fast, I almost had a heart attack because I was like starting to get into it. I was really liking it. I was like, this skirt's gonna look really cool. I hope it scans okay because I'll give you a scanned version of her as well. I'm hoping this texture picks up. If not, it's okay. But I definitely think it was a nice sort of different approach to the skirt because I wanted to show you sort of both ways of playing around with it, and you can do so many different things. You can use so many different textures and feelings and papers for the skirts, and this whole process can be completely changed. So it's the same concept as Whimsy Warriors, but you can definitely tweak it to your own liking, make whatever characters you want. You could make monster ones, but I thought since Halloween is coming up and I'm in the mood with all the drawings that I've been drawing for collage sheets, I thought why not show you guys my take on a Whimsy Witch. And it's been a while since I've done like a project based video for you guys, even though it's a reimagination of a project that I've shown you before. And the results are completely different. So it just goes to show that everything can be reimagined and recreated to have a completely different look. And I am super, super happy with how they turned out. And I am so happy that you guys have joined me for another video. And I hope to see you again soon. And I hope to see a few Whimsy Witches in the Facebook group or even on Instagram. I cannot wait to see what you guys do with these little collage sheet elements because they're some of my favorites. My mom's gonna go gaga over the witch's boots, and I know Romany will as well. So have a wonderful day, guys, and I will see you back here for another video very, very soon. Bye!